Hello, everyone, and welcome to the DIFC Unplugged podcast series. My name is Grisita Awa de Gracia, and I head up the insurance and reinsurance business in DIFC. I am pleased to have with me today Max Robbie, Senior Executive Officer of Markel MENA in DIFC. Hello, Max, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Rosita.
Markel has been in the center for a decade now and is an active part of the Lloyd's Dubai platform. Can you tell us or share with us more about Markel's strategy and focus in the MENA region?
Sure. Yeah. So I think it's quite interesting that this is our 10th year in the DIFC. And I think that that's an indication of the commitment that we have to the region. We, as Markel, as a global company, we have offices in 16 countries. And we effectively view each office as a local company. Each business is individual because no business understands that locality better than those that are placed there. So we effectively view our strategy as being primarily one where you have global expertise with localized execution of a plan that's been put together. We feel that the way that the insurance is moving, the way that we are moving as a company, is data-driven underwriting that really underpins our strategy. But our strategy within the region, as we continue to put Markel on the map in MENA, is that we view the DIFC as a hub, and there are spokes that go out from there. We've alluded to the fact that it's MENA, so Middle East and North Africa. We view huge amount of opportunity as you look at how the Middle East socioeconomically has developed in the last 5, 10, 15 years. And there's huge opportunity to utilize on the investment that's coming into the region and the sophistication and purchase around those who are purchasing insurance and reinsurance has hugely developed. And for us, in terms of strategy, we're really looking to harness that. We have put a huge amount of value on being close to the client and having the relevance to brokers in the region as well. So having an understanding of what the client requires, that's really what underpins that data-driven and localized strategy.
Thank you so much for that, Max. I think that's a good transition to the next question that I have, which is you guys advancing steadily in the region as a team, and you've recently strengthened the team in terms of doing casualty and cyber business. So what does this say about your vision in growing expertise around the center and underwriting depth in the region? And is there any desire to add more lines of business in the medium and long term?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, when we first started out in Dubai, in the DIFC originally, we were truly a trade credit underwriter. And we kind of quickly realized that whilst trade credit is a fantastic line of business, has been very profitable for us, that actually you need to diversify your product lines. And so we've continued to do that in the last 5, 10 years. We view that you need a sustained and diversified book of business. And in that sense, you need to have that diversification of product lines, but you need to have the right people. And so we've probably been a bit slower than others in how we've grown out and the speed at which we've grown out. But I think that we believe quite sort of definitively that profitability is what underpins us as an underwriting company. So in answer to your question, yes, what we've done is we've slowly built out. So we now have 7 to 8 lines of business, which cyber and casualty are the most recent 2. We're looking at exploring into the construction space as well. We've seen a lot of growth and a lot of interest, not only in the construction, but also things that sort of come with that as well. Casualty, cyber, we're very strong in those class of business, and they really complement the existing lines of business being energy, PV that we had previously, and the marine side of things, the marine cargo, marine hull. Fundamentally, it's about providing a one-stop solution to our clients and having that full wrap and that full vertical, which is what we're trying to achieve. That said, there are other lines of business that we're looking at that can complement. For example, fine art and specie. If you look at the investment in the region, the amount of exhibitions, the amount of jewelry, the amount of fine cars and motors, I think that's something that's quite unique. And I think that we view ourselves as a product lead and a class lead in every single line of business that we write. The other one actually, sort of almost appropriately for this, is entertainment. We think that we've seen the number of documentaries and series being filmed in the Middle East has massively increased. We have a very strong entertainment team. And I think that the other part to really complement that is that we have local expertise and skills from a claim side on the ground as well. And I think that once you have that full product suite combined with that, then it's quite a unique proposition to clients and to brokers, and it's something that we really pride ourselves on as a people-powered business to sort of propose that opportunity, but also to be able to really empower our underwriters to sort of execute the strategy, which we kind of mentioned earlier.
That sounds quite exciting because you adding more lines of business and recognizing the needs of the market would definitely, put your name further on the map. And it's a more concentration of your commitment to the region as well. Now, allow me to pivot into talking about the challenges and opportunities that you see as, distinctive across MENA. How is Markel uniquely positioned to address them?
I think it's probably, you can read the news, you can see how macroeconomically and socio-politically the way that the Middle East has developed in the last 5-10 years is incomparable. I mean, the acceleration of growth has been higher, and that curve has been much steeper than anywhere else in the world that I can probably think of. We kind of view it from two phases. You have a people perspective and in terms of a strategy perspective. From a people perspective, I would say if you look at the Middle East and look at Dubai, it is a tapestry of cultures and nationalities, identities, and we view it as our prerogative, and what we need to be able to do to harness that is we need to have various nationalities in our office and cultures, and we kind of view it as a jigsaw puzzle in the different pieces, different sizes, and if everyone was the same, it wouldn't work, so it has to come together. We're really proud of the fact that we have, in terms of speaking, we have Filipinos, we have Jordanians, we have Lebanese, we have British, we have Indian, we have Pakistani, all these different nationalities, and that comes together to be able to understand the unique fabric and nature of what the Middle East really entails. And from a strategy perspective, I think that we need to be alive to change, and we're always quite proactive in how we view insurance and the risk perspective. We think that climate risk is something that needs to be sort of looked at. The UAE and the Middle East were probably previously perceived to be a non-cat area. I don't think that's the case anymore, but that doesn't mean to say that we're not going to write cat-exposed risk. It's just how we look at it. Similarly, I think that the amount of investment, if you look at the globalization of the Middle East and how it's connected, cyber exposure is going to increase. And rather than saying, oh, we're going to be risk off, it's actually, well, we're risk on, but we'd just like to understand what you think your threats are as the insured, and how we can approach that and how we can tailor our products so that they are suited to what you need, and how that kind of ties into that geopolitical and socioeconomic framework which sits around the insurance industry.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about you, spending, a good decade now in the DIFC, and you already have that experience in the region. I just want to understand and hear from you, like, how does being based in the DIFC shape Markel's ability to serve clients and brokers across the region, especially with your unique offering, because you do have the company paper and the Lloyd's paper. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, I mean, I'm not just going to say this because you've kindly invited you on the podcast, Chrisita, but the DIFC and the DFSA have played a huge, huge role in our growth, expansion, and success that we've had in the region. The DIFC and DFSA have a trusted regulatory framework, which is fundamental and underpins what we try and do and what we have achieved. I think the fact that we know it's trusted, the fact that we know that the region and the regulator is so pro-business, the level of commercial pragmatism that's demonstrated, that really allows us to be able to spread our wings in a way that we probably wouldn't be able to otherwise. That soft touch approach and the trust that's put into us is something that we really appreciate, and something that we don't take for granted. We engage with regularly with the DIFC and with the DFSA, but we kind of feel that trust as a privilege, and I think that's something that we take on, and that allows us to use the hub and spoke model from the region. It allows us from a company and syndicate stamp perspective. It allows us to find out the most cost-efficient ways from a financial balance sheet perspective to deploy capacity, and we only view that as something that's going to increase over time as well. The way that the region is moving, the way that we are moving as a company, as we put Markel on the map, we are really, really trying to sort of increase the role that we play within the DIFC, and that engagement is only going to increase over time naturally as well.
Well, thank you so much for that commitment, Max. Really appreciate it. And now I'm down to my last question for you. So, looking ahead, what trends do you expect to see or you feel will influence the regional insurance landscape? And how is Markel preparing to lead and innovate in response?
So I think there's probably two or three things that really will kind of shape that change moving forward. I think that there will be regulatory development from other countries within the GCC and the Middle East. I think it's being alive to that and being proactive in that sense. We're very fortunate to have a great relationship with the regulator in the UAE and the DIFC, but I think that we need to be cognizant of the fact that other people will view things differently, and they probably will be slightly slower in how that they will kind of adapt to that change, and we need to be proactive and engage with them. I think the secondary part is understanding that climate change will play a big part in it. I think that it's very difficult to predict what that might look like, but I think that we are alive to it. I think whether that's engaging using data-driven technologies to assist in that process. I also think that we're not naive to the fact that there have been some geopolitical tensions in the region, and I think that by engaging proactively around that and leveraging that international experience we have with that localization and local access to business, I think that's something that which really benefits from the strategy that we've put together. I also think that we talk about investment that is coming to region from the infrastructure side of things. That infrastructure is going to come with certain parameters around it, and whether that's cyber, whether that's property, whether that's third-party casualty, it's understanding how the legal side of things will develop as well. And that local law is something that we will engage with lawyers, we will engage with third parties and key stakeholders around the risk perspective, and something that we think would be it's a great opportunity. Fundamentally, there will always be challenges, but I think the way you approach them is if you run away from them, you're not providing product for your client. Whereas if you address them head on and try and tailor that, that's how we view the future, and that's how I think we're going to make a real difference in the next 10 years in the DIFC.
Well, many thanks for that, Max. And I really appreciate you joining us on this episode of the DIFC Unplugged podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, Gracita. I know that we've known each other for a large number of years, and it's been a pleasure to sit down and spend some time with you and talk through all things DIFC, DFSA, and Markel.
Thank you so much. Well, that wraps up the episode of the DIFC Unplugged podcast. Thank you so much for listening in, and have a good day.